when you see the graphics, it looks like, oh, you have the little girl and the hat, and that's your character. You're actually playing the hat.
Oh.
So I also played some games for Steam Next Fest.
That is insane.
It is insane. It's insanity. There were really only 3 that I had any interest in talking about, so what I was going to do is I'm just going to do a little lightning round of the other demos I played and why I don't really have anything to... just to give you an overview of what they were. So,
lightning round.
So 5 minutes and I'm going to go through 8 demos real quick. Let's do this.
Perfect.
Get ready. Set the timer. Okay, so Legend of Calvis was something that Clayton, you suggested that I play. Yep, that was that was a game. Just imagine if you it's like a Souls game, but not. You're just in an open area. You like randomly slash at things, and then they die eventually. It's not very Souls-like, to be honest with you. It's just
like, was the combat any good?
No. No,
Really?
It was not. It was just me like randomly moving around and trying to swing the sword a bunch, and sometimes it hit and sometimes it didn't, and that was pretty much my experience with Legend of Calvis. So,
well, I think that's why they call them demos.
That's right. However,
I would like to say, aside from NetFest, wish all games on Steam would now come with demos, because
Me too.
Boy,
yeah.
Does that save me money.
Yes, please have a demo, just so I can see what the gameplay is.
And it's easier than piracy.
Yes, and I'm sure it's also less of a headache than having to return games after you've bought them.
Yep.
For Steam.
Yep.
After Legend of Calvis, though, I did try one other Souls-like, because I did look up some Souls-likes, and I found Morbid the Lords of Ire, which is more of a Souls-like game, but is not as really fleshed out as some of them. It has the look and the feel of something like maybe a Bloodborne with its own little style, but I didn't find any real mechanics in it that were particularly interesting and innovative. It definitely feels like a rudimentary version of that. Speaking of Vampire Survivors, I tried one called Soul Survivors.
I feel like I saw that, but I didn't.
And I didn't even know if I really wanted to play it after I downloaded it, and then I played it, and I realized why I didn't want to play it. I didn't play it.
Was this the one that was Souls-like Vampire Survivors?
I wish. It would have been so much more interesting.
Was it the one where you could roll around and you had to like swing your swords around and do combat like that? Okay, I think that was a different one then.
No, it's the one that had a graphic for the front that looked just like Vampire Survivors, but with a different character there. It's still the red background, same font and everything, but there's a different character in the front. It's Vampire Survivors, but with like 3D modeling on like a 2.5D plane, but also does not play that way. You have special power-ups that you can get, and then you release them. You hit the button, you release the special attack. I was falling asleep playing it, so I can tell you that it's probably just play Vampire Survivors.
I don't blame you. I'm looking at the developer right now. The developer is called Nomade Game, and they want to put out one other game on Steam called Dark Light, which is a platformer game.
Ah.
So they jump from a puzzle 2D platformer to a Vampire Survivor.
Yep.
Game.
Yeah.
One of these days, Nathan, we'll have to do a show devoted to the Steam trash pile that are money laundering games.
Ooh, fun. Let's find some of those.
Yeah. You know, the games that nobody buys because they're like $80, $90, $100 that obviously are just like...
So they can move money around from one person to another? Yeah.
So they can get it on there, get like 10 reviews on it from people that they give the game key to for free, that they know, and then they get their games up on key resellers.
Yeah.
You want a mystery box with the game key? Here you go. Here's a game key valued at $90.
Perfect.
World of Tanks version 16.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, so Star Trucker. You've probably saw that demo.
I played that one, and
Yeah.
I forgot about it promptly.
And I don't blame you because
What's the game called?
It's called Star Trucker, and the general idea is you're in space, you're hauling around cargo, but your ship looks like a big 18-wheeler.
It is American or Euro Truck Simulator in space.
Pretty much.
Oh, I saw this one too. I just skipped over it. Though.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. It is it
didn't interest me.
Yeah,
It interested me and then disappointed me.
it was just very in the weeds with its mechanics immediately about what it
Yes.
wanted to do. It's just,
Yes.
you got to patch up your ship. Okay, well, go get your space suit, and then you got to get into the elevator. You got to go up the elevator. You got to get out. You got to patch the ship. You got to go back to the elevator. You got to go down. And it's like, oh god, it's gonna be like this the whole time. I did the one. I got the one load to the destination. I ended up losing more money than I made because I smacked into too many things and I had too many repairs. And I'm like, this is gonna be the whole game, isn't it? It's just, this is it. This is it.
I did the same thing. I did the first, you had your first load, delivered that, and then went to pick up. I didn't smash it around, Nathan. I did a
Sure.
better job apparently than you. First of all, I had to invert my pitch axis.
Oh,
Because
immediately that just got me.
I always play inverted.
Yeah.
So I was like, I am so confused with how this is flying because you have your ups and downs because you're in
Sure.
space. The handling of the truck was not great.
I'll tell you why I skipped over the game. And I didn't bring this game up, and I kind of wish I did now. It's because I played another game that involves being in space called Astronomics.
Oh
And-
boy.
Oh, it was actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
It is a space mining game, but it's your objective is to try to get to Earth, so you can go home
Oh.
for the first time. First time,
Oh, neat. Okay. Nice concept.
you can't afford to live on Earth. You have to be a space miner, so you can afford to live and to go home for the first time.
Oh, it's like the
Very-
Expanse.
Very hard space shipbreaker.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah,
I'll link it so you can check it out later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
So, but for Space Trucker, I know we've probably mentioned this before when we talked about wreckage. Not just space games, but generally speaking, a lot of survival elements in games do not interest me.
Yeah.
And so when Space Trucker went, hey, you need to replace the battery for your gravity, you need to make sure you've got your air filtration systems, you need to have your whatever else, like all the subsystems on your truck need to have different battery cells, need to manage those. I went, oh no, I'm not going to enjoy this at all.
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Unless that truck was going to turn into Optimus Prime, I don't think I would have played it.
Yeah. Like, I don't mind when games have, like, say, No Man's Sky, for instance.
Yeah.
You've got your batteries for your weapons and your tools, you've got your oxygen and your hazard and stuff, but other than that, you don't really have much survival elements you need unless you're,
Right.
like, underwater, but then you just put things in your suit that help you underwater.
Right. Exactly.
It's-
Funny
so
you
it's-
mentioned No Man's Sky because Steam tells me that this game is relevant to me because I've played No Man's Sky.
It is not.
What, Space Trucker? No.
Yeah.
It is not.
No. But you can easily mitigate all of the stuff in No Man's Sky by outfitting your suit to better deal with these survival elements that are
Oh,
there. Or you can just turn them straight fucking off from the menu settings.
Yeah.
But in Space Trucker, I went, alright, sometimes
central.
driving games are... Yeah, it's like central to it. And I didn't like it in Breathage, and I don't think I'm going to like it
Yeah.
on that. And I went, nope, I'm not going to play any more of this. I
Yeah.
delivered my one load, and that's it.
Yeah. So.
I didn't remember I played it because I fucking uninstalled
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And I probably had only spent about 10 minutes before I was like, yep, nope, done. Dread Dawn. This one kept coming up for me, and I was like, oh boy, open world zombie game, top down. Yeah.
Dread Dawn. What a name.
Dread Dawn, and the idea is that it's like a top-down game, but there's a zombie apocalypse, and you gotta go into the zombie apocalypse, and you can get little friends that can help you out along the way, and you can shoot at them, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty damn terrible, and I don't know why so many people were big on it. I just don't. It doesn't play very well. If you die at any point, it takes you back to a starting point that's probably about 30 minutes before you previously to a point that you can't determine. The character moves like he's a chopstick man that all of a sudden came to life, and you just it's hard to explain. Like if you move with the WASD keys in this game, it will take you up, down, left, right, etc. But if you run, like there's a sprint button, it will follow wherever your mouse is on the screen instead.
What?
Yeah, I swear. Yeah, I'm not kidding. That is what this game is. It's a confusing mess.
It's a good thing it doesn't have a release date yet. They can fix that.
Yeah, maybe they can fix that, because, it's like, if you have the mouse on screen, the F key will follow it, but then I guess if you're not moving your mouse and just using your keyboard, the F key will... There's another sprint button you can use that does the WA... I don't know. It's very confusing. It was very confusing and very convoluted, and I was... When they said, hey, you can jump over these barriers, and the hop is like, boop. Oh, I got over this giant barrier and leaped through it. It's like, all right, I think there's some issues here.
I'm gonna go ahead and blame the zombie genre on it.
Yeah, well, concept is cool. Concept is neat. Idea of an open world zombie game, it's cool. That's a cool idea.
But and looking at the screenshots
Zomboid.
and the pictures of it, it really has that really old school look. Grand Theft Auto look to it.
It does.
Back when Grand Theft Auto was top down.
But you know what you could do in Grand Theft Auto? You could drive the cars. This has lots of cars around. Can't drive them.
You cannot drive cars.
Yes, exactly. There's no cars in this one that you can drive, apparently. Dread Dawn.
Although,
coming at
this
some
game
point.
looks like doesn't look like it'd be a big game anyway, and yet it looks like it's going to be a 20 gig game.
Oof.
Yeah, it was an install.
Why? Why was it 20 gigs?
I don't know. It's a pixel art top-down game. I don't understand.
I think you just downloaded Bitcoin.
The demo itself is almost 8 gigs.
You may need to reinstall your BIOS, buddy.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Have you noticed that your data's gotten stolen recently? Check to see if you have. Anyway, so that was that. I didn't like that very much. I did play a full season, though, for United Penguin Kingdom. You know how you like settler, colony builders? Okay, imagine that, but with penguins?
So Timberborn, but with penguins?
Timberborn, but with penguins? Yeah. You build your little colony. You can build little towers where you chuck ice spears at seals that are trying to steal your resources.
Oh, that the tower?
I know
tower
this.
Defense,
I know this
right?
game.
Yeah.
I don't care for very well.
It's not really a tower defense game. It's more of a city builder, but you do have to defend your colony because sometimes seals will come and steal your stuff. But
you should club them.
Or I think also orca whales.
Yeah, orca whales are annoying because they just come up at everything that you build right on the edge of your ice raft. The orcas just periodically come by and go, no, screw you, and they just destroy your buildings.
So there's kind of a cheese mechanic for that. So there was another Twitch streamer, YouTuber that I been following for 10 years, who played this game. So AKA Mike B, did a video of United Penguin Kingdom, which is why it sounds so familiar. Mm-hmm. The mechanic he did, I think he dismantled that building and then just rebuilt it. So the orcas had nothing to attack, so they just...
Yeah, I guess you can. I guess you can do that.
So you could cheese it that way and not have to... I don't think you'll lose resources that way.
I hope not. I mean, it's...
Or not as many. I don't know if you get 100% resources back for dismantling, but...
Yeah.
It seems better than just losing the building outright.
Right.
Was this one you did like, Nathan, or did not like?
It was okay. Yeah, but I don't really have anything to say about it, so I'm not really spending time on it.
I mean, the only thing you have to say about it is penguins.
It's penguin. I saw penguins, I was like, gotta try that. Okay, yeah, my lightning round is getting very, very slow burn. Wait, I got two. Okay, here we go.
Zappy zap.
Underspace. Basically, imagine if Everspace 2 was done as an indie game, but also had Call of Cthulhu monsters that were out in the the space itself, like big tentacle monsters come through the lightning. It's like that, but it's not as good as Everspace 2 in almost any way I can think of. So
I think I saw somebody else play that.
Yeah.
I cannot remember it now. There was a game I wanted to try, downloaded it for the demo, got into the game, and the mouse settings were fucking wild.
Yes.
You use the mouse to control your ship, and it was like, shoom, 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 and like, I went to try and go back to the main menu, because there was no settings menu from the pause screen.
Yes.
And quit game, just exited the game. I went, well, guess I'm not gonna try
that again. For the record, Underspace 2 has a wild control scheme.
It might have been that. Did you have this weird, like, fucking crazy looking ship and like an AI that's like, you're a brain in a ship now? Was that it?
It wasn't that, but it was the thing where like you're moving like in a strafe, and there's a button you can use to turn on and off strafes so that you're going by your mouse. Like, your ship will move with your mouse cursor, and then you press another button, and the ship will just move back and forth, and your mouse cursor will like, your ship won't move, but your mouse cursor will allow... Anyway.
I don't know what the game I was talking about was, but yeah, I was like, this mouse is too crazy. I need to just do something so it's not so wild, and then
Too many Mises.
Nope, we're gone. And I went, cool, I'm gonna install you. That was insane, and I don't feel like trying you.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that was Underspace. And then one that I was...
Underwhelming space.
One that I was hoping that I was going to like, and I think it could be good in the future, but I wasn't big on it at the moment, was Critter Crops. Critter Crops is a sort of like a Stardew Valley, but the idea is that you like plant monsters in the ground, and then you can pull them out and have little monsters that you can keep around. There's little bats and ghoulic. It's like instead of garlic, but they're ghouls, and then you
can... Did they smell like garlic?
Maybe, I don't know.
The art style is really cute.
It's a great art style.
I didn't care for the art style personally.
Yeah. Did you try it at all, or
no? But I saw it and I went. This is a weird art style. I don't think I like this.
It's again. I think it's really just made by like one person who did like the artwork and everything. And it looks really fun. I like the hand-drawn art style that they had for it. I think it's the mechanics of the whole thing that really needed to be improved, because mostly what you do is you plant the little things in the ground, and then if you wait long enough, you water them and let them grow, you can then pretty much just sell them off and hopefully get upgrades. There's just a few little things that I'm hoping they work on, like for instance, when I go to upgrade a building, it decides that it's going to take all of my gold, or gould, as they call it in the game, instead of just the amount that it was supposed to be. So if you have like 256 gould, and you want a building upgrade, you want to redo a building for 200, all of a sudden you have 0 gould again. And then at a certain point I was like, oh, it's wiped out all of my finances, and I don't have more seeds to plant, and I don't know how I'm getting more money now. So, yeah, better tutorials would be helpful, and a little bit more objective of what I'm supposed to do, and how I do the weaponry and everything, because there are spells you can do in the game. But it could be very good, but it does need a little bit more time. Okay, so that was our rundown, but there's really just 3 that I actually wanted to talk about, so we're going to do those.
Not all those other... Forget all those other games.
Yeah, forget that I even mentioned any of those. Those are on the back burner.
Edit here.
Edit here. All right. The first one I want to talk about is a game that's being published by the same people that made Pal World.
Oh, you played NeverGrave.
I played NeverGrave. Yeah. NeverGrave is kind of a... Okay. It might appear to be a Metroidvania. It is not really that.
When people talked about it, I heard them say Hollow Knight.
Yeah, so there is one big difference between like the Hollow Knights or anything like that, is that it's the map. The map is not stationary. if you die or go back to town at all, the map is generated again. It is different every time. Cool. Which is going to remind people more of like Dead Cells, because Dead Cells did something similar to that.
It would also remind me back of like Diablo 2.
It is sort of like Diablo 2. And so you will have those random elements, although there are parts about it that are going to be like pretty stationary. One of the neat mechanics that they have in the game is basically like when you see the graphics, it looks like, oh, you have the little girl and the hat, and that's your character. You're actually playing the hat.
Oh.
The hat can go, like, it makes it very clear at the beginning. You go around, you're flopping as a hat at the very beginning of the game. You come across the corpse of this girl. You put yourself on and possess the girl, and now can use the girl to get around the environment. If you need to get over, like, a very tall cliff, you can jump with the person you're possessing and then jump off of the person and get your hat on top of the cliff face and then repossess them up top to get around obstacles.
How do you repossess them up top?
Oh, you summon them to you.
Oh. Okay.
The hat can then summon. But
I can summon the corpse. Great.
Yeah. But what you get into is that then there are certain monsters that you can defeat, and you can use their abilities by possessing them so that you can get to different areas of the map. And then if they die, you can repossess your original corpse.
I'm seeing a little bit of Mario Odyssey there.
It is. Imagine Mario Odyssey, well, in very much a Pocket Pair sort of style. Take a billion different ideas and throw them together. You got the Mario Odyssey hat thing.
As Pocket Pair has said, we just want to put all the games we really fucking love together into games.
Yes, and so you have the...
Fair enough.
You have the hat possession thing. You have, like, the Dead Cells, like, 2D side-scrolling, like, random generated stuff. And then, also... at your base, like the church that that folks are set up in, you collect resources when you're out in the world, and there is a town, and now you can build buildings and craft recipes and all of that in your town and build that up. So it's also a town builder. It's also like a city builder inside of that, and that allows you to get buildings that you can use for upgrades as well, so that you can do better jobs at collecting stuff and using magic spells and everything like that when you go into the dungeons, and then you can unlock new dungeons as you go along. So yeah, so I think saying like Hollow Knight, like in style, I think Hollow Knight is a good analog. Gameplay wise, very different. Gameplay-wise, I think it is very, very different. There's also this element where you'll get different spells that you can use, and you'll have so many charges of them, and sometimes characters will drop other or higher versions of them, and you can trade out a couple that you can have equipped at any given time. So, yeah, there are a lot of different elements there. I played, oh god, I probably played a couple hours. There was more demo to be had, but I was like, oh, okay, I think I see where we're going with this. I'm gonna have a lot of stuff I have to build in town. That became like the big quest, is I have to go get a bunch of resources so I can come back to town, and I can build even more buildings. I need to build a kettle, I need to build crops, I need to water my crops, and then I've got to wait for the crops to grow so that I can get some resources so that I can put potions into a thing. And I'm like, okay, I get where we're going. I think I get what we're doing here. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is because Pocket Pair is publishing it, so I thought it'd be interesting. But also because I think people are under a false impression that it's Metroid or Hollow Knight, and it's not. They threw other things in there. There's other stuff in there for people to know.
As they are wont to do with their games.
Yeah. I did want to try it out because it did look like it might be up my alley, and I was interested to see what they were putting out afterward. I think it's got potential, but yeah, don't be under the impression that it's going to be an analog for something like Hollow Knight, because it's a different animal altogether. One thing that is neat, though, as opposed to like a roguelike or something, is that you seem to be able to keep all of the resources if you do die. So you don't, like, they don't drop on the ground or someplace and you have to go collect them. If you've gotten so many seeds or whatever in the dungeons, you just keep them on you when you go back. That might change before they do the final release, but I hope not, because that would be annoying as hell. One that everyone's been talking about, I actually did play, and it's called Pacific Drive. Pacific Drive, you probably heard about it. Everyone seems to have heard about it.
Watch someone do a 40-minute playthrough of it. The video was 40 minutes. They put like 6 hours more into it after.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, absolutely.
They're like, I'm not even done with this demo.
Yeah. No, it's a pretty lengthy demo. I was probably in it for an hour or two before I stopped. The general concept for people who aren't aware is that you're going into this restricted zone that seems to have some abnormal activity going on, paranormal stuff that
is the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, so there's stuff going on. You're in this old station wagon, and the station wagon goes into this world, and wacky stuff starts happening, and you realize that you are not going to survive these storms very long until you find a garage and you can start upgrading your car so that you can get through the dangerous storms and robots and stuff that are out there in the waste. And so a lot of the game is based around repairing, upgrading, and modifying equipment that you have and also your car so that it can survive better. Get armor, gas up your car, build crafting stations, stuff like that. So it's got some survival crafting elements to it. One of the neat things that they do is that they have you plan a route on a map, and then you will go to a location that is on the map, and you will then be able to harvest certain resources so that you can build new stuff, hopefully so that you can survive long enough to get back to base. I did not, because I was under the impression after I did the main stuff in that area that I was supposed to go toward, like, the beam in the sky. They told me to go toward the beam in the sky, and I was like, okay, cool, I can go toward a beam in the sky. I apparently died in a storm after I got into the middle of the storm. That was the beam, and I don't know if that's just I didn't drive fast enough or my armor completely died out on me or whatever, but the thing that I didn't like as a mechanic is, if that happens to you, you go back before you ever entered the area, and I didn't keep anything at all.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of an extraction, extraction shooter, like.
Yeah.
In that sense, is what I heard.
Yeah.
So if you do the thing and you die, you don't get to keep any of the resources that you gathered.
Yeah, I hate that. Because I spent like a half hour and it's like I got all the quests done. I was ready to go. I had my new tools and stuff that I would be able to use. I got back to base after, they got you out like, oh boy, that was close. I guess the storm got you. And it's like, yeah, the storm totally did get me. I have none of my tools that I had gotten along the way. I had none of my new resources, and I'm like, oh, so that was just a waste of my time, wasn't it? That was just a big-ass waste.
I don't know that. I don't like that aspect of it either. Like, maybe if you lost the resources you gathered, that's one thing, but, like, if I collected new tools...
New tools, and also,
my car got destroyed.
And also the progress, because it's like, I had, like... activated towers and stuff, and I'm like, so I gotta go back and I gotta do all the missions again too, like when I was there. There was a whole thing I had to do in that in order to make that work, and that all kind of gets lost. So I don't know if that's gonna be the way the game is when it releases, because I think it's coming out like now.
It's coming out in a couple days.
Yeah, it's coming out in a couple days, and I'm going to be interested to see how other people feel about that mechanic. Maybe you could do some stuff in the area, and then I could jet out, because I don't want to, finish the area and, open the anomaly to get back, but they kind of explain to you after you've switched the breakers, it's like, you can't go back the way you came. you have to like open the rift so that you can get back, and it's like, so I can't go like cache my resources and stuff, and apparently not. Apparently you just have to go toward the beam in the sky, guys. From a look, and especially in that early section where you're driving along the road and you're getting deeper and deeper into it, and the tunes are playing and it starts to cut out, the radio starts to cut out on you, and you have to get out of your car and refuel your car. It's like there is actual tension there. There's actually like storyline. The CB radio's going in the car and they're talking to you on it, and it's like, oh, okay, this is cool. I'm in it. But it was really when they started to get to that extraction part where I'm like, I don't know if I like how these mechanics work in the game. That's where it kind of lost me. It starts off really strong though. So if they could keep that kind of intensity the entire time, where it feels a little bit almost like horror survival, a paranormal kind of horror survival, I would like that. I think that's really neat, like something you don't see a lot of the time. And you can tell that they put a lot of effort into it, but I don't like the general extraction kind of gameplay of how they make that game loop, because it feels like a very negative reinforcement game loop, that the more stuff that I do out in the field, it's just going to be more stuff I have to go back and do if for any point I fail. I'm a weirdo. I didn't like the Enshrouded demo either. So
I'm not the biggest fan of extraction stuff either, so like it would be hit or miss with me. And I feel like with what you were saying, it would benefit, even if just an option to have, like, either you can pull out early or checkpoints, for instance.
Yeah. I would have liked save points or checkpoints or something like that. That would be great. Or something like a remote storage box, because tons of games will do that, and so that, you know, you can save, you can store stuff that you want to, you know, save for your box.
You said you had to activate, like, towers?
Yeah, so there's like a radio station in that first area that you go to that you have to activate, and then they go, like, you have to find, what were they called? There's certain sites you have to activate, so many sites, and after you do those, it like activates the rift, and so the idea is that you have to get back to the rift so that you can get out of the area to extract. And
I feel like if they were to do something like, oh yeah, when you activate this tower or whatever, maybe you can put a couple items in it, for instance. Even that would be okay.
Sure, like, okay, we're activating it so that we open a rift. Maybe the rift can take some stuff with it, or, you know, can bank stuff.
Yeah,
but what happened, I think, was that the rift that I opened last was out in the field, and I didn't really know what was going to happen after that. But they're like, this will open a path back. Okay, cool. So I do that, and then they're like, it's like it's like a big hurry now. I gotta get back, and I'm in the middle of a freaking field, and so it's like, okay, so the first part, I have to get back onto the road, so I'm like going over rough terrain to get back to the road, and then go down the road and try to pass by all of the little, like, junker robots that are trying to pull me around to get to the thing. And if I had been, like, more aware, or maybe I kind of got what they were trying to go for, I would have, like, tried to activate something really close to where the extraction point was, but I was not clear on these mechanics
Gotcha.
at the time. Might be, like, if I went and played the full game when it came out, maybe the knowledge of that would help. But after I got back home and I'm like, oh, I gotta just do all this over again, I was like, I think I'm okay. I'm good now. I get the point.
Yeah.
But the one I want to talk about, actually, is one that I don't think anyone has been talking about, called LonelySpace. I don't think chances are no one really saw it or anything.
I think I've actually seen someone play do a video of that, because I've been watching someone watching someone else that does a bunch of first looks at games, and they were doing Next Fest also.
Yes.
So
LonelySpace is an interesting one, because it's labeled as an immersive sim. And
your favorite?
My favorite genre, yeah.
Yes.
And you can immediately tell that that's what they're going for, because there is a crate in like the beginning area of the game that does not have a code, but there are only 4 buttons on it, and they happen to be 1, 4, 5, and 0. So immediately you're like, oh, it's 0, 4, 5, 1, because every freaking game that's in that genre has a code that is 0, 4, 5, 1. That's like a common thing. So that happens, but then once you start to get into it, you realize that it's actually a combination of like Deus Ex and Dark Souls, and it's a very odd combination that you didn't think would work, but I think works out okay. What I mean by that is, it's got the Deus Ex part where you have different ways that you can deal with situations. They give you stealth abilities, they give you shooting mechanics, they give you hacking abilities that you can upgrade so that you can get around doors. You could hack into turrets, you could hack into the mainframe systems, etc. You could learn to like jump higher or dash faster over obstacles or something like that, or you could get big into stealth, or you could chuck boxes or tools at enemies instead of using your guns. A lot of different elements like that. However, your upgrade system takes you back to a med bay, where you take the blood vials, essentially, blood that you've gotten from the enemies that you're dealing with, and you put those into your basic stats that then also upgrade your secondary stats. And in order to do that, they have to kill you and then remake a clone of you.
Seems legit.
And then when they do that, though, the enemies that are in the base come back. Except, of course, for the really big, like, boss monsters or sub-boss monsters, like the Subject 15, I want to say. That's, like, the big, brutish, like, what was that guy from Resident Evil 3? I can't remember. Yeah, him.
Yep.
Nemesis.
X. That one.
Well, or Mr. X was in 2, yeah. But one of them, he's kind of like that big, brutish guy, which I fudged, because, again, it's one of my fun things about immersive sims, is, like, figuring out a way to cheese the system. I got him into an area where I was in a vent, and I had, like, a box, and I could keep just chucking the box at him from the vent. He couldn't hit me until he just died. Just keep chucking the giant box of canisters at him. So that's how I dealt with him. But then I started to realize that there are enemies where, you know, oh, here's a screwdriver. There's like a screwdriver. You can power up a throw, chuck a screwdriver at one of the monsters, and deal big damage to them. You can you can like shoot out the different cameras when they come online. You know, do a lot of different things to hack your way around the systems, and I thought that it was a really interesting idea. One thing that they do that I think is really cool is when you get to like the final room of the demo, they have a little kiosk, and the kiosk will ask you questions about the game, basically feedback for the developers. But then they kind of go, thank you for playing the demo, and here's a bunch of guns and ammo and upgrade abilities and stuff like that, and if you use those and you go into the chamber, we have some new enemies that you can battle if you go back through the facility, and this is like thousands and thousands of blood, so you can upgrade like 50 times, you know, your stats, so you can put a bunch of stuff in there. They give you like a Tesla coil gun that you didn't have in the main game. They give you different ammo mods like the incendiary rounds and the shock rounds if you want to toy around. It's like, have fun, and then they send you on your way to play through.
That's actually a really cool way to like end a demo.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations, you got to the end of the demo. Here's a table full of shit to play with. And then it makes
you wonder, when you get to an end of a game like that, what they'll do when you beat the game. It's like, hey, you've beaten the game, now have all this. And
Yeah. I imagine that in the main game you'll get those at certain intervals. Because,
definitely.
Yeah, and I had made notes to them that it would be good to see some more upgrading of the actual tools, or being able to scrap some of your old stuff. You know, some basic ideas. The general framework of the game is very neat, because I don't see that crossover very often, and I thought that it might not work all that well. But the idea of a layout of a facility where you get to, you know, keep unlocking stuff in different ways actually works out really well with the Souls-like formula of the regenerating enemies and being able to, you know, harvest resources and then use those to upgrade your character. A little bit of polish would help out, but that's pretty much it. And I think I did mention to the developers that more variety in how the different enemies act would be helpful. You just how they attack, their movement sets, stuff like that, and maybe a slight reskin because they do look a little too pristine. The enemies look a little too pristine for a broken down a broken down space station that they're in.
We need those terrifying clowns we talked about that one time.
Yeah, exactly. We need terrifying clown monsters in this. That's going to be the first mod. The first mod is just turn all the enemies into Thomas the Tank Engine.
Great.
Perfect.
Love it.
So that was LonelySpace, and I think it was the best surprise out of all of them. I was kind of, like, I looked up Immersive Sims specifically to see what they had.
Of course you did.
And I didn't see a ton that I was very interested in. And this one just kind of looked like, oh, okay, this looks like they're very much inspired by System Shock. So I need to say, and it's very inspired by System Shock, but that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. So NeverGrave, Pacific Drive, and LonelySpace were the ones I thought were particularly interesting, the ones I wanted to actually discuss. And out of those, the one I was most impressed with was probably LonelySpace. So there you go.
Side note, Nathan, for Immersive Sims, not Sins, those are different. For Immersive Sims, have you gotten to check out Shadows of Doubt yet?
No, I have not, but it is on my to-do list.
It should be something you try and we can talk about sometime.
Perfect, because I do like that idea. I like the crime.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
I will say right now, if you get it, there are options you can turn on and off in the settings to make it just a little bit more breathable for you.
Okay.
For instance, you can turn off like some of the weather effects so you don't get cold as much, or like you don't have to. Maybe you don't get cold, or you don't get hot, or maybe whatever. You can turn off some of those things, like survival elements.
Sure.
Because I didn't see they really enhanced the game for me. So like for me, it was like, oh, turn that off. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a game. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Shadow of Doubt is on my list. Disco Elysium is also on my list, and I need to be in the
Disco Elysium yet?
No, I have it. Have not played.
Fair enough.
Need to, but I figure it's kind of one of those games that feels very involved. I can't turn my brain off for that one. I can't play it passively.
Yeah,
I gotta be in it to play that game.